In 1975, a new kind of movie came out. This was a movie unlike any other conventional movie. This one was a horror comedy musical. The world of cinema had just been rocked by the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It tells the story of young couple Brad and Janet, who embark on a crazy adventure when one night their car breaks down, where they find a creepy castle to ask for assistance, where they enter the eccentric and strange world of Dr. Frankenfurter, played by the legendary Tim Curry. Yes, before he was Pennywise terrorizing the sewers of Derry, Curry was a sweet transvestite, an alien from the planet transsexual Transylvania. As Brad and Janet's night gets increasingly more weird, they discover that Frankenfurter has created life in the form of Rocky. And with many memorable songs along the way, this truly unique and wacky movie leaves the viewer having a movie experience quite like no other. So today, seeing how I've got out my Rocky Horror Picture Show LP, I figured I'll go through a list of 10 things that you may not know about this outrageously awesome movie. From Denton to transsexual Transylvania, we're going to explore many weird and wacky happenings that took place during the making of this film, some of which are just as wacky as the movie itself. Let's check it out. Number 10. It started as a stage musical.
The river was deep, but I swam it.
Okay, this fact isn't really unknown, but I thought it deserves a mentioning anyway. Rocky Horror Picture Show was originally the stage musical Rocky Horror Show, which first screened in London in 1973 and then shown in LA in 1974. The popular stage show was the brainchild of actor and songwriter Richard O'Brien, who of course, as we all know, would go on to play Riff Raff in the movie. The premise of the show was that of a comical take on science fiction and horror B-movies of the 40s and 50s, while giving it a glam rock twist, in which glam rock had become a big thing in Britain in the early 70s. O'Brien wrote his musical masterpiece merely as a way of coping with being an out-of-work actor at the time. But lo and behold, the stage show became a huge hit. Tim Curry, Richard O'Brien, Patricia Quinn and Nell Campbell were all in the original stage play, and would go on to reprise their roles in the movie. And even Meatloaf had an appearance in the stage show too, and one time had to act in for Dr. Frankenfurter. Yeah, Meatloaf as Frankenfurter. Imagine that! So, before Meatloaf was nearly beating the shit out of Gary Busey in Celebrity Apprentice, he was Eddie, the unfortunate delivery boy delinquent from Rocky Horror. Tim Curry often gets most of the praise in regards to the Rocky Horror Picture Show because he is such a dominant presence in the movie. But I think we also need to take some time to give Richard O'Brien praise, as he wrote the songs and the scripts and the whole damn thing. Hence why I have my very own Riff Raff action figurine. Yeah, check that out. Number 9, alternative title.
To say, and that's damn it, Janet, I love you.
One thing you can't deny is the Rocky Horror Picture Show, or rather, the Rocky Horror Show, is quite a catchy title. Just the name alone kind of sums it up and tells you that you're going to watch a show that is quite literally unlike anything you've ever seen. And its distinctiveness and appeal is probably what helped the Rocky Horror to become popular. However, this nearly wasn't the case. Shortly before the musical hit theatres, the play was originally going to be called They Came From Denton, which is obviously a homage to the B-monster themes that were in the show. But yeah, I'm glad it was changed, as it doesn't sound anywhere near as appealing as Rocky Horror Picture Show. The people who come from Denton are of course Brad and Janet, the so-called normal couple. The title, They Came From Denton, kind of makes Brad and Janet sound ghoulish. Number 8, channeling the Queen.
It
Tim Curry said that when he was developing the character Frankenfurter, he was trying out all kinds of voices to give the bizarre role. He said first up he gave him a German accent, but thought it sounded too cliché. Then an American one, but it still didn't feel right. And in a recent interview, Curry said that he took inspiration from the unlikeliest of sources, the Queen of England. Curry said that he felt the part should be spoken prim and proper and posh, with an air of royalty about it, which I think does enhance the character. And he does. He sounds ever so posh in the movie. Like in that song he sings at the end, he doesn't say give yourself up to absolute pleasure, but he says give yourself up to absolute pleasure. I don't know why, but that always cracks me up, the way he says to. Number 7. The movie was a major flop when it came out.
With your hands on your hips.
Although Rocky Horror Picture Show is a treasured classic now, and to many is considered the best thing since the invention of the train, what with the still many conventions and celebratory screenings of the movie, it honestly is hard to imagine that when the movie originally came out, hardly anyone saw it. It flopped on an epic scale. So what went wrong? I don't know. It was 1975, so maybe people were going to see Jaws instead. Or maybe the public at first didn't quite know what to make of it. However, thanks to late night screenings and word of mouth, the movie very quickly gained its cult status, and from then on the movie has been recognised for the masterpiece that it is, and in 2005 Rocky Horror was recognised as being culturally significant. Okay, I can't stress this enough, guys. Just because a movie does poorly at the box office does not make it a bad movie. It's the content of the movie, not how much the movie makes. If making a heap of money makes a movie good, then The Phantom Menace is like Citizen Kane. Number 6. Deleted song.
How'd you do,
I think we can all agree that the songs in the Rocky Horror Picture Show are pretty upbeat. They are full of energy and catchy as hell, and have a joy and fun about them that makes you, the viewer, feel like you're participating. However, there was one song that didn't make it into the final film. The song was Once in a While, which Brad sings after he cheats on Janet with Frankenfurter. I can see why it was removed. It's a really sad and gloomy song in contrast with the more lively upbeat songs in the movie, and it just would have dragged the movie down. It's basically the Brad character saying, "Oh no, what have I done?" But it comes at a part of the movie where the story and energy of the movie starts rolling to a certain place. This just didn't fit in with the time duration of where the song would have been placed. Brad actor Barry Bostwick even sung the song, and it was recorded, and it is often added to movie soundtracks. But to me, when listening to it, you can tell that when compared to the other songs, this one is the weakest link. Number 5. Story of the Red Lips.
Well, you got caught with a flat world. How about that? Well,
The movie starts with the iconic red lips with black background, which seemingly sings to us the audience the song Science Fiction Double Feature. The lips have become an iconic piece of imagery associated with the movie, and the lips do indeed belong to Patricia Quinn, who played Magenta, where the actress performed with bright red lipstick and her surrounding mouth painted black. Because of this though, many have been led to believe that it is Quinn who is singing Science Fiction Double Feature. However, the song was performed by Richard O'Brien himself, with Quinn just miming the words. But I think having a woman's lips singing with a man's voice coming out does go with the whole gender bender themes of the movie. Number 4. That sequel.
I was feeling done in, couldn't win.
Oh yes, that sequel that never gets spoken about and that everyone seems to have forgotten. For those who didn't know or just can't remember, in 1981 a sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show was released called Shock Treatment. And just like Rocky Horror, its script and music was written by Richard O'Brien. The story focuses on Brad and Janet, who are now played by different actors. In fact, Cliff DeYoung, who plays Brad, was even considered for the role of Brad in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The movie sees the return of Richard O'Brien, Patricia Quinn, Nell Campbell and Charles Gray, all of whom are now in different roles. And it also has new faces, including Barry Humphries and Rick Mayall. Weird. The movie flopped, and granted it's nowhere near as good or as memorable as the original, and doesn't even resemble a Rocky Horror Picture Show movie, to be honest. It looks so different, and maybe that's the problem. It strayed too far. But it's still every inch as weird and as wacky as its predecessor. To be honest though, I don't think the movie is god-awful. In fact, I think it's quite ahead of its time. What with the main focus being about society's obsession with reality TV and consumerism. Isn't that weird that it focuses on a world where a small town has been taken over by reality TV, to the point where the whole town has been turned into a movie studio? In 1982, reality TV wasn't even a thing. So people probably would have been like, huh? What? But now, more than ever, this movie does have relevance. Number 3. Susan Sarandon's Ill Health.
I wanna be dirty.
Most of the movie was filmed at a real-life castle located in Berkshire in the UK, which apparently was a miserable place for the cast and crew to film, as this location was so unbelievably cold and wet, with a leaky roof which constantly left the actors soaked. And in addition to that, there was no working toilet. And it seemed that no one suffered the worst of these side effects than Janet actress Susan Sarandon, who apparently caught pneumonia while filming. And when you think about it, it does kind of make sense considering most of the time her character is just in her underwear. And according to Richard O'Brien, during the takes, she was so ill, she was often left trembling with a terrible fever. But to give the actor credit, she pulled through and got the job done and helped contribute to one of the greatest movie musicals of all time, and more power to her for it. Number 2, Mick Jagger wanted to play Frankenfurter. Yeah, apparently British rock singer Mick Jagger really wanted the role quite bad, and asked several times if he could perform the strangely memorable role on the big screen. But he was turned down as Tim Curry had played the part on stage and wanted to carry on playing the part in the film. And it made sense to use the performer whom was already familiar with the part and had already played it several times. Poor Mick Jagger. He also wanted to play Alex from A Clockwork Orange too, but never made that either. Oh well, at least he got to star in Free Jack, so there's that, I guess? Now, I would never want to step on Tim Curry's legacy, but I can see Mick Jagger as Frankenfurter. Be that a more creepy one. Number 1, 20th Century Fox insisted American actors, which led to an unlikely audition. Although Rocky Horror was a British stage show when it went into movie production, the movie's distributors 20th Century Fox got their 10 cents in on the movie and insisted that Brad and Janet be played by American actors, which I can see from Fox's perspective, as it would have made the movie more marketable in the States, which after all is where most of the box office big bucks lie. This led to the strangest of auditions, in which US funny man Steve Martin auditioned for the role of Brad, which is just awesome. Okay, knowing that piece of trivia really makes my day. He didn't get the role, but that's okay. He went on to play the evil dentist in The Little Shop of Horrors, which he was awesome at. The role of the young couple Brad and Janet went to Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick, who were actually going out in real life at the time. But I guess their relationship couldn't survive the fact that during the end scene they couldn't stop stepping on each other's toes in their high heels, causing each other an incredible amount of pain. Isn't that always the way? Well guys, that was my look into the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the movie that's guaranteed to entertain and thrill you. And is still to this day probably one of the most outrageous and most brilliant comedies of all time, with a brilliant soundtrack to boot. Seriously, how cool are the songs in that movie? Anyway, I'm Minty, and I see you shiver with anticipation to see what my next episode is. See ya!